Welcome everybody to the inaugural episode, which this isn't like a normal thing that we'll always be doing, but this is a new thing that we're starting. It's called Vendetta Group Chat. It could be anything sports, non-sports related, just stuff we want to talk about. A bunch of us from the site are here today. Joining me, I've got Karl, Trey, Jeremy, and Alex. Say hello,
What
everybody.
up? What up? What up? So I didn't even wait for an introduction. I just said what's up. Like as soon as I heard my name, I just started fucking talking.
All right. Of course, if you're looking at the title, you're here because you want to listen to us talk about and react to the draft and free agency. But before we get into that, we're just going to hear a quick word from our sponsors.
The following broadcast is brought to you in association by XP Coffee Company. XP Coffee Company is the fresh brewed coffee made for gamers by gamers. Get amazing flavors like Choco Loco in 8, 12, or 16-ounce bags. Or level up and get Illusion, Isolation, Nightmare, or the Majestic Throne blends in light, medium, or dark roast in whole bean, coarse French press, drip, or fine espresso in 12-ounce, 16-ounce, or 2-pound bags. Wow! Shipping worldwide. If you're in the U.S., go to usa.xpcoffee.co. If you're in Europe or in the U.K., go to www.xpcoffee.co. XP Coffee Company, for gamers, by gamers.
So the NBA draft, Jeremy and Karl and Trey, some were there for our live draft coverage that we streamed on YouTube, which if you are here and you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel and you missed out on that, you definitely should subscribe. Like the video, helps us out a lot. And then, of course, check out all the other great content that we've got rolling out on the YouTube channel. But we'll just kind of go in order here. Karl, I'll start with you. What are just some basic reactions that you have from the draft? Just basic takeaways. Could be anything.
I was kind of surprised early on by the lack of trades early in the draft. We kind of knew going in that this was a weaker draft class, all things considered. And so I really thought like people in the lottery in the top 10 would be making trades out of the lottery, and we didn't really see a lot of that. So,
Trey?
Well, it's the year 2020, and the Timberwolves had to choose between a son of LeVar Ball and a guy who doesn't really care about basketball. If there was anything to represent 2020 and how shitty of a draft this was, it's that holy shit, if you have a first pick, you're still going to suck because none of these guys you pick will matter. So that was my takeaway. And to go back to Karl's point, why wouldn't you trade down? If you know, like, hey, you know, we're kind of going to get stuck here with a guy who doesn't really care, why wouldn't you trade down?
Probably no one offering what you would want.
LaMelo Ball gets too much of a bad rap from just
He
being
sucks.
His last name says Ball, and he gets so much bad credit just from that shit. That shit pisses me off. There's no reason. You guys can't look at the player by himself.
I agree.
He's like, he just says Ball's his last name. Oh, he fucking sucks. Lonzo, LeVar, man, give LaMelo his time. God.
You're trying to get adopted.
Shit. They got money though. They got money. I mean, look, I wouldn't trade my last name though. I lived with this shit. You just gotta go with it now. You just gotta go with it. I just wanted to put my right now on LaMelo because y'all just give him way too bad a rap just for having a last name Ball.
Okay. Jeremy, you?
Yeah, I think, the good teams, the good GMs, they made some good picks. And, the bad GMs, again, continue to make questionable picks. I mean, you got the Bulls drafting Patrick Williams 4th, which is a head-scratcher for all of us. The Pistons drafting Killian Hayes 7th, another one for us at Vendetta. We're not very high on Killian Hayes. Even the Knicks at 8, Obi Toppin, he's a he's a ticket sales guy, but he doesn't fit the need that they came into the draft. They really needed a guard, and they didn't take a guard. And then, some of the top teams made some good plays. I mean, obviously, James Wiseman of the Warriors, that's a good pick for them. I know Trey talked about this one, but the Nets just opting not to draft anyone and getting Landry Shamet, I think that was a really smart play, and I think it's going to benefit these teams again.
Cool. Alex, you said your piece about LaMelo. Is that your takeaway?
Well,
or
that
you
was
got another
one
one
of
else?
my takeaways. I was just tired of him getting a bad rap. Just constant, no matter where I go. I was kind of surprised Denny dropped so low. to like 8.
You don't know
But
shit about that guy.
That's bullshit.
You never watched one single play of his.
No, I watch highlights just like you watch highlights.
Highlights.
Yeah, we're coming today. This is time. Yeah, you called me
Yeah, it
out
is.
for no fucking reason.
Sweet.
For no fucking reason. You called me out for no fucking reason. We're going petty today. I'm petty today.
Well, I just, I saw all those max free agents sign with Detroit, so.
How many were max free agents? How many signed a max contract? How many? Go ahead, count to me. Tell me who. Please. Please tell me. I'm waiting. Fucking A.
All right, we'll get
A
into
misquote. It was a misquote. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
All right.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, my biggest surprise and takeaway was kind of like with Carl, but then finally when the trade started happening, it was just like they couldn't stop trading. It was like teams couldn't stop. It got kind of ridiculous there at the end, especially trying to keep up with it live, trying to keep up with who's getting drafted and who's going where, especially picks that are bouncing around like 3 or 4 times. So player doesn't even really know where he's getting drafted to, or trades that are happening. Like the Grizzlies made a trade for Desmond Bane, but Desmond Bane wasn't officially a part of the team because the trade wasn't made official for like 3 days after the draft, and it was kind of stuck in limbo because of the Gordon Hayward situation.
I blame the Thunder. I didn't know what the fuck they were doing. I was so fucking lost every time they said Thunder's name, and then it was like, this pick is from Thunder, da-da-da. No, that shit was pissing me off. I was like, who the fuck has the pick? I don't even know who's on their fucking team anymore other than Shea. On God, I don't know who's on that team.
They got
Because they've done...
they got the Pokusevsky dude. They drafted
Yeah,
him.
that guy. Yeah, I know about him.
That guy's going to suck. He weighs like 120 pounds.
So did Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant can even lift the fucking bar. That's why Greg Oden fucking got drafted over him, and look how well that's working out.
I think it's a little different. He went to college. He went to Texas and dominated. He got his team into the tournament and won some games.
So if they come from not the U.S. If
That
they
guy,
come overseas-
Pokusevsky,
if
he
they
averaged
come
like
overseas, they suck. Luka sucks,
0.7
guys.
points
Hey,
a
guys,
game or something.
Guys, Luka sucks. You know that? Luka sucks. Kristen Porzingis sucks. Everyone sucks. If they don't come from the U.S., they suck.
First of all, I said he weighs like 120 pounds. He's like 7'1", and he averaged like 0.7 points a game in Europe.
Now, that's what all I heard was if they don't come from the U.S., they suck.
All right.
See how it is today. See how it is today.
We may just let you two talk, Carl and Jeremy and myself. We may not say too much. We may even
They
leave.
might go make some popcorn.
Yeah, we
Shit.
may just leave the call and just let you two hash it out, and we'll come back later.
Just like 3 hours later.
It's putting me in a good mood.
All right, so we'll get into some questions here. We'll start with Trey with this one. Trey, what's one pick that you really liked looking at the teams that drafted? What's one pick or one team that you think did a really good job, and explain why?
Well, I kind of like the Magic picking Cole Anthony, but it's the Magic, so they'll probably ruin him. So I don't really have an answer here. I'm gonna go with the Brooklyn Nets for getting Landry Shamet. They said, "Fuck this, we're not drafting anybody. We'll get a guy who we know who can play." And out of this draft, how many teams are going to be able to say that at the end of the day? 4, 5, 6. So I'll go with Brooklyn. I think they put themselves in a position. We'll use our second-round pick for Bruce Brown, our first-round pick for Landry Shamet. We'll go make this team that's ready to win right now. So we'll go with the Nets.
All right,
The
Jeremy,
Nets are
who's
going to be ready to win right now anyway with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. I just want to put that.
They're not going to win, or they are going to win.
They were already going to win a lot this year just because they have Kyrie and KD this year. And they kept most of the bench this year, which was like the biggest thing on my list for them.
Wait till they trade for James Harden.
That's fucking stupid. That's fucking stupid. Don't even get me started on that. That's fucking
Just get your
stupid.
apologies ready if it happens.
For what?
If Harden lifts the trophy, you're going to have to
A
apologize.
trophy.
You're going to have to apologize.
To
So
who?
Just get them ready.
For what? For being
Hey,
carried?
James, I'm sorry.
Is James Harden going to get Finals MVP?
Well, they
Oh,
got the...
no, well, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't even fucking matter.
Okay, well,
Continue.
just, get your apologies ready when they win.
Ah, fucking shit. Whatever. I'll believe it when I see it.
all right, Jeremy, what's your team or your pick?
The pick I really liked coming from the first round was the Hawks taking Onyeka Okongwu, 6th overall. the center from USC. I think he's going to be a big piece for them as a rim protector, and I think he's going to definitely benefit in the pick and roll with Trey Young and some of those guards. And I think, he's going to get help from John Collins, learning how to rebound a little bit more. John Collins is a wonderful rebounder. And I think if Okongwu develops a shot, that's a stretch 5 for them, and that could do wonders for the team. And then just going to the second round, one pick I really liked was at 49, the Sixers took Isaiah Joe, the shooting guard out of Arkansas. This was a guy who I wanted the Sixers to look at. I had him ranked 25th on my big board, so I wouldn't have minded if they looked at him at 21, but obviously that was too early for the consensus of the GMs. But yeah, he's a great shooter. He can shoot off the ball. He can shoot, off the dribble and off the catch. And I think that the Sixers are definitely in need of a shooter. So I think that's a good get at the end of the draft.
I appreciate the Arkansas love there, my guy. There's not a whole lot of it out there, and it's not deserved.
Yeah, we talked about this on the live.
Yeah, it's not well deserved. We are pretty much laughing stock, except for baseball. Baseball and track and field they're pretty good at, but that's about it. Alex, what about you?
Oh, okay.
What's a
I'm
pick?
gonna say the obvious one. I'm gonna go with the Warriors with James Wiseman. From the very beginning, it was just it was a puzzle piece that just fucking fit. Get James Wiseman. They needed a center. Obviously, they got pretty much everything else taken care of. Even with Clay out, they got everything else taken care of. They got Oubre in the offseason, and then they go get a center that they clearly lacked, and now they're he might be able to win a title in his first year. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Plus, I like Nico too. I like Nico in the second round. I always like. But I like Nico coming out of high school. So
Yeah, the Wiseman pick, like you said, it's fairly obvious. Do you think are you more satisfied that they took Wiseman, or do you think they should have or would you have preferred them to have traded down and then possibly get another player that could help them compete now, especially with Clay being down? You just
I liked Wiseman. They could have traded down, but it's just like for who, Because
they ended up getting Kelly Oubre, so he can kind of. He's not as good as Clay, obviously, but he can fill that role, sort of.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is Steph is coming back too. Like people, the Warriors looked bad last year, but Clay was out. That was already going to hurt him, and then Steph was out, and so and I don't blame the Warriors. I think the smartest thing the Warriors did was let Steph sit for a year, even though his injury was only like a 2-month injury, if that. And just said, no, just sit for the whole year. You don't need to play. We'll tank. We'll get a good draft pick, or we could keep our options open if we wanted to trade down, but they didn't. So.
All right, I'll do mine next real quick. I'm going with Precious, drafted by Miami, the power forward out of Memphis. I really liked him coming into the draft. I think it was not only a steal at 20, but the team that he went to, I think, is really good. Now, for Miami, it sucks for them because they lost Jay Crowder, but they did add Avery Bradley. And, Precious, he's not that great of a three-point shooter, but his averages will be about the same with Jay Crowder. He'll just shoot about 6 or 7 threes less a game. For anyone that has ever had Jay Crowder on their team, then they know the Jay Crowder effect, where he'll hit about 2 big threes in a row. And then for the night, he'll go like 2 of 12 or 3 of 10 from 3-point land. He will lead your team in 3-point attempts, but he will be dead last or just slightly above like the number 12 guy on the roster for his 3-point percentage. But I think he fits well. I think the culture there will definitely help him grow into a great player. He's kind of like will be, I in my mind, he'll be the backup to Bam, and there's no better person to learn from right now, which Bam just got his bag. I think that was today or yesterday.
That was today.
That was today.
Shit.
Yeah, big payday for Bam. Well deserved for him too. But I like the system that he's in. I like the coach that he's going to get. I like the culture that's built there, and he has a great leader in Jimmy Butler that's going to demand all from him. And yeah, Precious.
I like it. That was Trey's guy, right? Trey, what happened to him?
What do you mean? What happened to him?
Why didn't the Celtics take him?
It's not like he died.
Why
he
didn't
gets shot.
Why didn't the Celtics take him?
You think I interviewed Danny Ainge? You think I have the
I
answers?
was wondering. Anyway, carry on. Go ahead, Jackson.
All right, Carl. What's your
Like,
big one?
hey, what happened to Alex's brother? Hey, he got punched in the face. Like, I don't know. How would I know?
Carl, go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually was gonna go with Precious. I think that's a good pick. And I've already praised the Grizzlies for picking up Desmond Bane enough, so I'm gonna hold off on that. I'm actually gonna go into the second round, and I like the Spurs getting Trey Jones at 41. There was no world in which Trey Jones was ever going to be a first round pick. He was always going to go in the second round, but he is just, I think he's such a solid depth piece as a backup guard. He's got great basketball IQ, good enough shooter, good perimeter defender. So I think that was just a really good depth move from them in the second round.
Yeah, if I had to go with the second round, I'd obviously got to be a homer here and go with Memphis and Professor X Xavier from Michigan State, which him and Jaren Jackson they are like this. They are buds. It's crazy. Okay, so we're gonna now the opposite of that. We'll start with Jeremy with this one. Jeremy, what is the one pick that when you saw this happen on draft night, you wanted to get up and start punching holes in the wall and had you scratching your head thinking, why the hell is that dude a GM? How does he have this job after this pick?
Right. So we talked a lot about Patrick Williams and Killian Hayes, obviously. So I'm not going to go in that route. I'll save that for one of you guys if one of you guys wants to talk about that. I'm going to go with Leandro Bolmaro, who was taken 23rd. The Knicks traded him to the Timberwolves. I don't really understand this pick just because like he's a 6'7" pass first guy. He's not a good scorer. He's not going to be in the league right away. And the Timberwolves don't really have great depth on their bench. So I'm confused as to what they're doing with this pick, why they're spending a first-round pick on a guy who's not going to play for definitely not next year, maybe another 2 years before we even see him on the court. And, I mean, that's the 23rd pick. They actually traded up to get him, which is just confusing to me. I don't know.
The heir to Ricky Rubio. Who they just got back, too. I guess they're like, man, we miss you, Ricky. All they got to do is get Kevin Love back now, and it's that group again. Alex.
Well, I got a couple. First, let's just go on a mini rant. What the fuck are the Bulls actually doing? Like, what the fuck? Patrick Williams at 4. Dude was like 10 to 15 range, right? And they're like, nah, fuck it. Why not trade
Jeremy,
down?
where did you have him on
Obviously,
your
the
big
team's not
board
good enough
again?
right now.
Sorry to interrupt you, Alex. Where'd you have him?
I had him at 28. I just don't
28,
see
boom.
any like star upside or like primary scorer upside with him. He's like a depth piece. Like in my opinion, he's going to be best as a sixth man, which is what he was at Florida State.
Safe to say you could have traded down. You could have traded down a lot and probably still got Patrick Williams. So I just don't know what the fuck the Bulls are actually doing. I want to go with the Suns. I didn't like the Jalen Smith pick. I felt like they reached on him. I felt like they could have got him around that 15-20 range, maybe trade back a little bit. But I just didn't like that pick. That one was a surprise to me. There was other people on the board I felt like they could have gone with. But that's just me. I think they could have got Halliburton at 10. I think that would have been helpful because the Suns still kind of lack that backup guard depth. So I didn't really like Jalen Smith here, but that's just me.
Okay. I'll go. So mine's a little weird, and it's just because of the future implications and because it's a horribly run franchise, and I don't know what they're doing. I think it's a great pick by itself. It's Tyrese Halliburton at 12 to Sacramento, but I'm just confused.
Need a new pick.
I'm just. Was that yours?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it could still be the same pick. It just
All right.
means that it was really a really bad pick, and maybe you say something that I don't.
All right.
But I'm just confused as to what the Kings are doing. So, Halliburton, point guard. You got De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is a really good point guard. And then maybe you could say, okay, well, we'll run him at the 2 guard spot. Okay, that's fine. But then you have Buddy Hield. That's your 2 guard. And
I think he's
got-
getting traded. I think he's going to get traded.
He's been in a lot of trade talks, but the older he gets and the more he gets into that contract, it just seems more and more untradeable to the point where you're not going to get good value out of a guy whose production has dipped because him and the coach don't get along, so he stuck him on the bench. And so now you're just going to have this, like a 20-something million a year bench player, which is ridiculous. And if you say, oh, well, we're going to use him as a backup, you used the number 12 pick for a backup guard. You could have, which granted, it's Halliburton, and I really liked Halliburton. As other people have said, I would have liked to have seen him go 8 to New York, as much as box office as Toppin is. I just don't know what the direction is of this franchise. There's so many other holes that need to be plugged in that starting unit that you could have got a decent player of some sorts at that spot or traded it or whatever. And again, Halliburton is a great player and it's a great pick, but it makes sense for anyone except for the Kings. And because it's the Kings, that's why I gotta question the pick.
I was just gonna say I think the guy sucks. I see a poor man's Monty Morris, and it kind of reminded me of Josh Jackson. Remember when he was at Kansas and his jump shot was so weird? It was like somehow this goes in, but it doesn't look like it should go in. I don't like Halliburton's jump shot at all. It just loops a lot like Josh Jackson. I don't think he's going to be very good. I don't believe in his jumper. For some reason it goes in, but to me it feels like once he gets to the NBA, he's going to struggle. Plus, Sacramento picked them, so anybody that Sacramento picks, you can just chalk up as a loss.
De'Aaron Fox?
Well, there's exceptions to the rule, Alex.
It's like, we either go 100% or 0%. You keep
Sometimes your hair looks good, and sometimes it looks like Jimmy Neutron. Today it looks like Jimmy Neutron.
It happens. Shit, I wake up and that's how it goes. I don't tell my hair what to do. My hair tells it what it's going to do. But you can't just say, oh, yeah, anyone drafted by the Kings sucks, and then say, oh, De'Aaron Fox doesn't count. That's not fair. That doesn't make any sense.
Who was the white BYU guy? What was his name? Nick Stauskas was another one. Yeah, Jimmer Fredette.
Yeah. God, I wish Jimmer would have made it, man.
Yeah,
God,
me too.
They draft Harry Giles and they don't even bring him back. They're like, yeah, we'll rehab him, but then when he's ready to play, we'll cut him.
I miss Jimmer.
All right, Karl, who's your pick?
I'm going to turn my light on quick, so go ahead.
My pick is Isaiah Stewart at 16 to the Pistons.
I don't like that one either.
I think this is just, it's a bad pick for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, Isaiah Stewart, he took 20 total three-pointers in college. And if you're looking at him to be, first, he's a traditional center who's above average at rebounding, but he's also 6'9", so he's going to get out-rebounded by any other center who's 6'10" and up. He's a little heavy, so he's going to impact your pace a lot. He doesn't stretch the floor. He would have also, at best, he was probably a late first rounder, and you're taking him just outside the lottery. And I get that 2 years ago we thought he was a guy who had upside, but his freshman season at Washington wasn't really that impressive. And the game is moving away from players like him. So, spending a mid-first round pick on him probably wasn't worth it. I mean, their first two picks I thought were really questionable. The best pick they made was Sadiq Bey at 19, but I think Stewart at 16 is just – I don't know how you defend it. He's not worth the – I mean, maybe in this draft he is worth the 16th pick, but his skill set, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll beat up more on the Pistons when we get to the free agency part of this. I've got some words about the Pistons. Just don't understand them.
Well, they sign all the max free agents, so I don't know how we can react on them.
Apparently they sign all the max free agents, but there's now been one max free agent signed to the Pistons, so it's okay. Continue. Don't worry, I understand.
All right, Alex, since you're talking, we'll start this last NBA draft question with you, at least questions that I have written down. So let's pick one team that drafted, and what would you have done differently? Like, pick a team that you think, like, you could put yourself in the shoes of your Spurs. If there's a different player that you like that you would have drafted, or try to make a trade or whatever.
Oh yeah.
What's just, or it could be your team, it could be any team. Or is there a team that should have drafted a player but they went a different direction, and you think that it was a stupid idea that they went the direction that they're currently going in?
Shit, I'll go with the Spurs. I ain't got no problem doing that. I don't get me wrong. I liked how the Spurs drafted. I thought the 3-and-D wing was good. I still would have traded DeMar DeRozan or LaMarcus Aldridge or even both. That's just me. But as you guys know, and I've said this enough times, that I'm pro rebuild right now because we're not going to win anything, substantial with DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. I already know that. I've came to terms with that. However, I do like how the Spurs drafted, but I guess there's still time. I guess there's still time to trade DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. I just don't know if they'll do it or not. But I would have traded him in the draft, see what I could get for him, move up, move down, get other pieces involved. It doesn't matter. I would just like to see them not worried about it right now. But I like Devin Vassell. I like Trey Jones so far, so we'll see.
Yeah, if Trey Jones is anything like his brother Tyus, who plays for Memphis, then he'll be a great backup. Which in the NBA, backup point guard is super underrated for their importance to a team, in my opinion. All right, I'll go next. I'm gonna reach for some low hanging fruit here, and put myself in the shoes of the Chicago Bulls, because again, this pick just makes absolutely no sense to me, and I have no idea why they would take it. I feel like they need some shooting, so obviously you got Denny. Right there, the dude slides almost out of the top 10 to number 9 to Washington, which I thought was a good pickup for Washington and what they're trying to do and put shooters around Wall. But even if they wanted to focus more on defense, the pick taken right after them at number 5, Isaac Okoro, best defender in the draft. Why not take him? The guy can defend the 1 through 4 spot. And he's got the offensive tools. They're there. The foundation is there, even if they're not as polished. And to me, he always felt like Okoro felt like Marcus Smart 2.0. Like he was going to have the same career trajectory. Start out the first couple years, 3-4 years of his career, establishes himself as the defensive guy, the energy guy for your team. And then over the next 2 years, as he gets a new contract, that's when he adds his 3-point shot and he becomes a fully well-rounded individual hitting the prime of his career. They could have gone either way with this pick, but yet they take Patrick Williams that averaged, less than 10 points? Did he average? I can't remember what he averaged at FSU, but Florida State. But it is a definite head scratcher and not a great start to the new regime there. Karl, your turn.
So I'm going to take the place of the OKC Thunder. And they had a ton of activity in this draft, just like trading into picks, trading out of picks, like moving all around in the draft, picking up guys that they didn't even draft. But I was just looking through like who they got, and they didn't actually like do anything that great. Like, yeah, they loaded up on first-round picks, but they took like 4 guards in the draft, and Pokazevsky, who is like 5 years away from being 5 years away, and that's if he eats good. So like
the next Bruno Caboclo.
Yeah, like I mean, they took Emmanuel quickly and then traded him. They traded for Theo Maledon, who I think is grossly overrated. They took Cassius Winston and traded him, who like I thought he could be a really good backup in the league. So like they just made like a lot of lateral moves, and I feel like they had some opportunities to take guys who could help them now, because they're building from the ground up. So like any guy that they can give rotational minutes to would be great. And they just drafted like 5 guards and are left with 2 of them, and neither of them are going to help them really at all. So I would have. I mean, I think the Pokazevsky pick was pretty bad, especially with Precious and Sadiq Bey on the board. I think they could have gone with either of those guys and been a whole lot better off than they are now.
Trey?
So, yeah, I'd be the Thunder.
I'm gonna go with the Utah Jazz. This is a team that they had the 23rd pick. They traded down to 27, and then they're like, "Yeah, let's take Azubuike, who can't even stay on the floor in the NBA because he can't make free throws." I don't understand that pick at all. What's he really gonna do? He's gonna play 10 minutes a night, block some shots, and pick up fouls. Like that's what you're selling your fan base to. So I didn't really understand that. What you already got Rudy Gobert, who makes way too much money and really doesn't impact the game. You got Azubuike now, great backup center who can't shoot free throws. No, thank you.
And they just signed Derek Favors too. Picked him up.
Yeah, $10 million a year. Derek Favors. Good hell.
Jeremy?
I know we talked about them a little, but I'll take the Pistons here. And I won't free agency. But so with the first pick here at 7, I'm taking best player available. I would take someone like Avdia, who I think obviously fills up a role better for the Pistons. I mean, they do still have Derrick Rose, so Hayes won't start right away anyway. So I would take Avdia, who's probably going to start over someone like Trevor Ariza. And then, I mean, the thing that I'm just not in agreement with is them drafting 3 players in the first round in this class. When, I mean, if I was the GM, I'm not trading for first round picks in this class specifically. I'm trading back and maybe acquiring some first round picks in next year's class, which next year's class is supposedly very good. And I mean, Karl talked about Isaiah Stewart, which is questionable. If you wanted a big man depth, I would obviously go Precious Achua over him. And then, I mean, for their third pick, yes, Sadiq Bey, he's a good role piece, but I mean, I'd rather have a pick from next year's class in the first round. I mean, I guess you can warrant like taking a shot with that pick, like maybe going with Jaden McDaniels, who has higher upside than Sadiq Bey. But I don't like that they spent 3 first-round picks in this class when they're in rebuild mode, and this is not a good class. I would rather wait till next year's class or draft.
Yep. So, any other thoughts from anyone about the draft? Anything?
Nah.
Peyton Pritchard. He's the man. Going to the Hall of Fame.
Peyton Pritchard. All right. Well, with that, we'll transition into the free agency portion of this show. But first, we will hear another word from our sponsors.
The following broadcast is brought to you in association by Forever Grips. Go to forevergripsgaming.com for all of your affordable gaming accessories. Need new grips for your analog sticks? They've got it. Need to swag up your controller or console, including the Xbox Series X or PS5? They've got it. Need a sweet mouse pad to complete your setup? Go to forevergripsgaming.com now. Act now and use the Vendetta Sports Media promo code VSM15 at checkout to get 15% off of your purchase. That's right, 15% off by using our promo code VSM15. Forever Grips, the best accessories for the best prices are with Forever Grips.
It wasn't the greatest of classes, yet the moves that were made, like 2 maybe in specific, have already probably decided the outcome. Barring anything major, we at least know of probably one team, and the hint is that it is Alex's jersey right now.
I totally forgot what fucking jersey I was wearing.
But we'll talk about the Lakers real quickly, because I think, as much as I didn't want them to have it, I would argue that they probably had the best free agency, just from the sole fact that usually if championship teams coming off a championship season, you have a lot of guys that they were on the last year of their deals. A lot of times they go somewhere else and they get a big payday, such as Matthew Dellavedova, getting money that he had no business getting with the huge contract that he signed after the Cavs won their championship. But and then normally and usually teams hurt because you have leadership that leaves. Somehow this Lakers team got better. Trade for Dennis Schroeder, sign Montrezl Harrell. They get Gasol on a 2-year deal, Marc Gasol, and then sign Matthews, and then retain Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And even though he hasn't signed yet, Anthony Davis ain't going anywhere. I can't believe that they had such a great offseason. It's kind of ridiculous to me. So I want to get everyone else's thoughts on the Lakers here, so that way we can just kind of get them out of the way and not talk about them again, because I'm just glad that the Grizzlies are rebuilding right now, because for a lot of those mid-level teams that think that they can compete, or other teams that are close to the top that are trying to compete, it's going to be a rough year, especially out west. So, Alex, we'll start with you on this one.
I want to know why everyone was sucking the fucking Lakers' ass out of a fucking straw. Okay, why would you trade Dennis Schroeder to the Lakers? I just never understood that shit. Why would you do that? Like, that makes no sense to me. Why? I was like, we're just going to trade you over there, have fun, and, help them get better, right? They lost Danny Green, who everyone hated, right? They kept KCP, but I guess they bullied him into being good or whatever. I don't know. I'm mad. And then Montrezl Harrell signed with the Lakers. Like, I can't blame him, whatever. He had no loyalty to Clippers, I guess. So he was just like, whatever, fuck it, I'm going to go get myself a ring. And he'll probably go get himself the ring. I would say the Lakers are the team to beat in the West. And it annoys the hell out of me because I hate Lakers fans and I don't like LeBron. So, shit, that's just my life. And I'm like, well, great. Now I have to root against them every game for the rest of the year.
Yeah, there's only like 2 Lakers fans that I can stand, and it's because they don't just rub it in your faces.
I like Anthony. Anthony's okay.
Yeah, I was about to say Anthony.
I like
Anthony, and then I know another guy that I've been friends with for a while. He's a true Lakers fan. He was with them in those down years, when like Kobe had his Achilles injury. He was still rooting for them,
man.
those years, and then in of course the between years of Kobe's retirement and LeBron coming and joining. And those are true Lakers fans. Lakers fans.
When Jordan Bell was starting.
Yeah, D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle.
Oh my gosh.
Man,
that's a playoff team. Lakers fans were telling me that was a playoff team back then. Holy shit.
Couldn't even win 30 games.
Mm-mm.
Karl, what are your thoughts about the Lakers and their offseason?
Well, when I saw like all the names they were picking up, my first thought was like, where are they getting this money from? Like, they're just like producing money out of nowhere. And I think they made really good moves. I think the worst move they made was, I think they're grossly overpaying KCP to be like the 7th best player on that team. I don't even think he was that good to begin with. I think you can get what he does for a lot less money than what they're paying him. But I mean, if that's your worst move, like, you did a pretty good job. Yeah, that was kind of my first thought, was just like, how do they have the money to sign Montrezl Harrell and trade for Dennis Schroeder? But good for them. I mean, they made it work. They're better now than they were last year. So,
Trey?
It's an unfair game. It pisses me off. This is why the NBA sucks. Nothing the Lakers have done makes them deserve this team. They draft Lonzo Ball, no longer on the roster, didn't really work. They draft D'Angelo Russell. He's having orgies with Nick Young. They get rid of him. Even Brandon Ingram, he's got blood problems, or he's about to die. Got the Chris Bosh syndrome. And that one doesn't really work. They draft Julius Randle. He's okay. It doesn't really work. They draft Zubac, who actually can play, but they give him away. Here, Clippers, go and have him. And then they have this team. It's bullshit. They've done nothing right for the past how many years. And LeBron walks in the door, so it doesn't matter. They just win. So it sucks. It's an unfair game. I hate it.
That's the pain of all small market fans, my guy.
Yeah, shit.
That is our pain.
No, Boston's out here complaining. Okay, Boston,
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah, Chandler Parsons. That's all I have to say.
Okay, I don't have anything to say like that, but it's okay. I feel for you.
Well, you guys, the Spurs drafted well. That's why they went to the playoffs for pretty much my entire life. The Grizzlies, they drafted all right, but then we go sign Chandler Parsons.
He was good. I would have paid him that much.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, his Instagram pictures look good. His girlfriend's pretty hot, but that's about the only thing he ever gave me. Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in agreement with everyone else. Trey pretty much said we were all thinking. I mean, obviously the Montrezl Harrell signing is a really good signing. I don't like it from a fan's perspective just because I don't know why he would just jump ship from the Clippers and just go straight to their rival. And I hope he gets, bodied in that game when they play that crosstown rivalry.
Oh man, that's gonna be some. There's gonna be some temper in that one.
He deserves that.
With Surge in town too.
Kawhi Leonard actually might say something. He might actually get involved and just like whack or something. He might say some shit like that. He might get a little fired up. As fired up as he gets.
And I mean, outside of the Harrell signing, they improved a little. I don't think they improved a ton. I mean, they substitute Rondo. They get Schroeder. They lose Howard. They get Marcus All. And then they re-sign Caldwell Pope. I mean, those are pretty solid bench guys, but it's not like major improvements. But then again, they don't need major improvements coming back from winning the chip. So, yeah, it looks like they're the favorite again this season.
All right. So just we'll move on. This is going to hurt Trey a little bit. This is going to be directed more towards Trey, so we'll start with Trey. Kind of go out of order here. But the two big things that happened to the Boston Celtics in this offseason, losing Gordon Hayward and being unable to pull off a sign and trade, so much to the point. Now, I've got a theory that I mentioned to Trey, and I'll mention it to you guys too, and you can tell me if I'm right or not about the Gordon Hayward situation. But in case you've been living under a rock for the past week, Gordon Hayward signed a massive bag with the Charlotte Hornets, a place that he tried to go to once before when he was a restricted free agent with Utah, but then Utah matched the offer sheet. So this is not the first time he's wanted to go play for MJ. But so my theory is this. So for one, they could not pull off a sign and trade, and even though the Hornets didn't really have the money, they decided to waive and stretch out Batum's contract rather than trading anything to the Celtics. And my theory is that if you guys remember from the Last Dance documentary how pissed off MJ was that Danny Ainge beat him in a round of golf, I think he's still salty about that, and he is willing to take $9 million in dead cap over the next 3 to 4 years and steal Gordon Hayward from Danny Ainge, then trade him even the worst contract on his books, like not even trade him Bismack Biyombo and a second round pick for Hayward, because he doesn't owe him anything. Hayward doesn't owe anything to them. He was an unrestricted free agent and he chose to go there. And the only compensation that they were able to find was they use a mid-level exception and go out and get Tristan Thompson. Trey, let's hear your thoughts.
I'm depressed. Mostly because they just lost the contract. If they would have lost the contract and got something, I would have at least been able to stomach it. But the fact that they get nothing out of this just sucks. There's nothing to say. I'll probably end up watching 2 Celtics games this year because they won't win the championship, and I've lost all hope. So it sucks. Just depressed.
All right, we'll jump back into order here. Karl, what do you think about the Celtics situation? And you can also include in there, going for everyone else, Hayward signing with Charlotte. What does that mean for Charlotte? And then Tristan Thompson's fit with the Celtics team.
So yeah, I mean, I'm probably in a little bit of a different boat because, like, I like Hayward. I think he's a decent player. I think he's probably a really nice guy, but I don't like him for $34 million or whatever we would have been paying him. Like, he's not the future of that team. Like, we have Jason Tatum, we have Jaylen Brown, we still have Kemba. Like, I'm not really that concerned that we lost Gordon Hayward, to be honest. I think, the Hornets seem like they're hell-bent on figuring out any way possible to win 35 games, and that's about it. Just all the moves that they make just keep them mired in mediocrity, it feels like. Just getting, second-tier stars to be their best player, and, so I I don't really have a ton on the Tristan Thompson fit because, to be honest, I haven't really thought about it that much. I mean, it's fine. The Celtics are still deep. Like, it's whatever. Like, Tristan Thompson's fine, I guess. We got him on the mid-level exception, so that's good. But I'm not too bummed about losing Hayward. It's not. I don't think that's the end of the world, really. I mean, losing depth like that sucks, but also that's like $35 million. So I'll let go of Hayward if it means we get to keep $35 million.
Jeremy?
Yeah, my first thought is just like, where are all these teams getting all this money? Like, I just don't know how you could figure out a way to give Gordon Hayward $34 million. Like, that's not something I would do. I don't think he did enough in Boston to warrant 25, in all honesty.
He has one career All-Star appearance. One.
Exactly. Like,
The craziest part is, like, he didn't just sign Gordon Hayward. He cut Batum and it was like, fuck it, I'm going to eat $9 million a year so that I can sign Gordon Hayward.
It's because
it's insane.
It's because Ainge beat Jordan that one time in golf. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and I mean, Tristan Thompson for the Celtics, it's honestly just an afterthought. Like, that's great. They get another bench piece. They get more depth in the paint. That's great. But I mean, it sucks for them that they weren't able to get anything out of losing Gordon Hayward, who, I mean, he was a solid contributor to their team, but I mean, he's not worth $35 million. So I don't agree with that from the Hornets' perspective. But I mean, the Celtics, obviously, they didn't do anything to, better themselves to win the Eastern Conference. So it was probably a losing offseason for them.
Okay, so I like Gordon Hayward too. I'm kind of on base with Karl and his thinking here. I like Gordon Hayward. I don't like him for that much, especially not anymore. Maybe back in his heyday, maybe, but I don't like him all that much anymore. I did like the Gordon Hayward and Brad Stevens fit. They both went to Butler, and so going to the Celtics, that was awesome. I thought Gordon Hayward would have opted out and maybe re-sign with the Celtics because of that connection. That just shows you I don't know what's going on behind the scenes or whatever. But I can't necessarily fault Hayward for getting offered 30 whatever, a lot of fucking money. He's getting his bag. Get your bag, protect your chicken. You know what I mean? So like, I can't blame him for that. I do like the Tristan Thompson fit. I feel like Tristan Thompson, all he has to do, even though he never really had any offensive game, all he has to do is rebound and defend for the Celtics, and he can get up and down the floor, so it's not like he's a total liability. He'll be fine. I think in the end, like long term, the Celtics do win, just because, holy shit, why would you pay for that contract? They might hurt for this year, but maybe next year they'll be a little bit better when the free agency class is a lot better. So it's kind of like addition by subtraction, but you just got to wait. So.
I mean, my question, like you said, like back in Gordon Hayward's heyday, like I just don't know what his heyday was. Like I don't know when he was good enough to get 35.
Good?
No.
Shit, on the Celtics, they had Marcus Smart, Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. That's fucking 4 people. I'll take Gordon Hayward as a 4th or 5th option. Are you shitting me? Like I would do that.
But for $34 million?
For $34
million.
I wouldn't do it for 25. Like I said, like I don't know. I
don't know
think
about
you could
that.
find someone better. I think you could find someone better for cheaper.
But then again,
Yeah.
when you talk about the Celtics, like Gordon Hayward, he was injured most of the year. I think the Celtics will be fine. I think Trey might be overreacting a little bit because Gordon Hayward was injury prone. He would be injured. They didn't have him for like half the bubble, and they did fine.
And
now
Naismith,
they're adding Tristan Thompson.
their rookie Naismith, he can step in off the bench and do pretty much what Hayward did, and he's a rookie, and he's on a cheap contract. He's not going to cost them $34 million into their pocketbooks.
No, I'm not saying Hayward's like tier 1, but Hayward's a hell of a good player.
And you know what? I don't blame Hayward for leaving because I'd jump on if someone's willing to pay me $30 million over the next 4 years, and I'm 32, 33 years old right now. Yeah, I'll go. And you're going to play for MJ too.
I still think the Celtics need one more piece.
Well, they're
I wish they would have gotten
team.
something back.
Fair enough.
I agree.
Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are still young. Oh, what do you want? Terry Rozier? He's your favorite. You like
Brad
Terry
Wanamaker
Rozier.
can come back.
Fuck that.
Yeah, addition by subtraction. Aren't you glad Wanamaker's gone?
If Vegas had an over-under for travels per game for Brad Wanamaker, it's at least 1.5 every game.
Now here's the question: do you take the over or the under on that?
Oh, over.
Over.
He can't dribble the ball.
He starts running and then he dribbles.
I saw this is sort of related. I saw a take on Twitter the other day where somebody was like, I guess really in their feelings about losing Gordon Hayward, and they were like, Danny Ainge is the worst. He's lost 3 max players in the last 2 years. Like, that's terrible. I mean, we can run through them. Like, Kyrie Irving said he was going to re-sign and he lied about it, and he's toxic, so I don't really care. Al Horford was not worth the money he was getting paid, and he never was. And
I
never
celebrated
will be.
when he left.
Yeah,
That's
and
his
Gordon
favorite
Hayward
player.
is like, a $30 million sixth man, like, whatever. I mean, it's the funny thing about the Michael Jordan thing is, like, Jordan in his head, if that's even a possibility, like, thinks that he's winning this by stealing Gordon Hayward, but Ainge still wins. Like, you're paying Nicholas Batum $9 million a year to not play for you, so, like, that kind of stinks for you.
For like a long time.
Yeah, for like a few years.
Yeah, that's pretty much the entirety of Gordon's contract. Is they're eating $9 million in dead cap, which is crazy. I don't know. I'd almost be more than willing to just straight up buy the dude out and eat as much cap this year, if that's possible. Which, I mean, again,
Well, then they wouldn't have had the money to sign Hayward.
I know, but like we've said, these teams are just pulling money out of thin air right now. It's like
I don't know where these teams are getting this
I
money
know,
from.
how are the Lakers signing all these players and they're going to give AD a possible max deal of like 32, 33 a year?
Especially in a year where there were no fans at games. Like, you're not making up any of this money with ticket sales. Like,
No, and there's not really going to be fans. There'll be fans at some arenas, but probably
Yeah.
not in LA.
Texas doesn't care. Alex can go to the Spurs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dead ass. They don't care. They
Hey,
don't give a shit.
Tennessee, right across the Mississippi from me, they don't care either. They're only letting 3,600 people in though, and it's first come first serve for season ticket holders, and I'm not a season ticket holder because I'm broke.
Well, Texas,
Yeah.
gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Okay, so obviously there are some other I've said and what we've pretty much been saying all of last year up into this year, pretty weak free agency class. If you want to know the big names that, in my opinion, are available, not counting Anthony Davis because it is assumed that he is going back to the Lakers, is Hassan Whiteside and Kyle Korver. Those are the only two interesting free agents left.
Can Kyle Korver even still shoot? Like, he's old as fuck.
That's the thing.
can he
He's the
still
most.
move?
He's the second most intriguing guy left. But that doesn't mean that there weren't some interesting moves. And so I've got written down what I've called my winners of this free agency class, and you guys can chime in. Tell me your winners. We'll do losers after that, obviously, which I'm sure the Pistons will be a big punching bag there because they will be the punching bag for me when we get there. But besides the Lakers, I've got the Hawks as one of the big winners of this free agency class.
Can we pause on the Hawks
Why?
Why?
just a little bit?
I'm not saying
that
that
this team's going to be good.
I'm not saying they're championship contenders, but these are solid
That's a
pieces.
playoff team. Hawks are a
They're a
playoff
playoff team this year.
They're a playoff team.
Are we positive?
Yeah, I'll bet money on their playoff team.
I believe so. They've added.
I mean, I know the rest of the East
think
is
so,
the
too.
bottom of the East is really bad. I get that
yeah,
part. of it.
yeah, no, but listen to what they've added. They've got Rondo and Chris Dunn that will be their backup 1 and 2. They added Gallinari, who had a great resurging season with OKC. I think he can carry that over. And not only that, but they have given an offer sheet to Bogdanovich, and the Kings are yet to match it. Now,
They're
normally
not going
teams
to
will.
either.
I don't think.
Well,
they're
if they're stupid if they don't match that.
I don't think they
well,
will.
it's the Kings.
It's the Kings. You just said it earlier. It's the Kings.
It's the Kings. So
They
and it is yet another day has gone by, and they have not accepted that yet. Now that could change at any moment with a tweet from Woj, but as of right now, it looks like they've got Bogdanovic. They have added a ton more shooting. They've added defense. That's one of the things that they needed. If Kevin Huerter is not doing it, then you can bring in Rondo or Dunn just solely for the defensive side. You don't need them to score or anything. They can at least handle the ball. But they'll play defense on the other team's one or two or whoever that they need to get a stop with. Of course, they still have John Collins. I thought that their draft pick was nice. They may get some compensation in the future if they try to get rid of Capella. If not, then it's a body to run on the second unit. I think it's a playoff team. I think they had a great free agency.
Me too.
I'm assuming the Kings are not dumb enough to match that. So if they don't get Bogdanovic, let's not pretend that Rondo is going to buy into this 8 seed. Like, that guy checks out all the time. If the Hawks are not a serious contender, he's gonna mail it in.
Were the was New Orleans a serious contender when he was with them? Because
he didn't give a shit the whole regular season, and then when they got into the playoffs, it was like, all right.
Yeah, he tried. This team is good enough to get into the playoffs.
That's why his name's Playoff Rondo. Like he
doesn't care what team he's on. He didn't care in the regular season when he was with the
Lakers. If they
Lakers.
make the playoffs, he's like, okay, time to play. Like he just saves himself.
The Atlanta Hawks are not winning a first-round series this year.
They're going to the playoffs.
Well, I'm just saying they're making the playoffs.
Charlotte might make the playoffs. Who cares?
I thought you didn't like LaMelo Ball. How are the Hornets going to make it? LaMelo Ball stinks.
Well, Rozier, will step it up.
Rozier, yeah, your favorite player? Yeah, okay. No, I think the Hawks are really good. I like the Onyeka, whatever. The O guy. I liked him. I like John Collins already. John Collins was injured most of the year, wasn't he? Or like at least half the year. So that's another thing. They got incredible young talent. I like their young talent. I think it's a young team. I think if they get on the right track, they could definitely make some noise. And I think they're a playoff team without. So.
Okay, we'll go Jeremy, and then we'll go Karl, and then we'll get to my other couple picks real quick, and we'll discuss them. And if you guys have any other picks, you're more than welcome to chime in.
This is winners or losers?
This is winners right now.
Winners. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Phoenix Suns in this one. I know that they're not going to be a contender. They're probably not going to be a contender next year. But, I mean, they took steps in the right direction with, I believe he's the interim general manager, James Jones. I mean, obviously acquiring Chris Paul, I mean, that's going to do wonders for them, with building up their young talent. They got Booker, who's a star. Mikal Bridges, who I really liked coming out of Villanova. He's getting better. DeAndre Ayton, he's still getting better. And, I mean, other than Luka and Trae Young, he's the best player in that class. He's the third best besides those two. So, he's a really good piece. Jay Crowder, they acquired him. He should be good as kind of a mentor. I don't think he's a great scorer, but, I mean, he's streaky like we talked about earlier. And then, they re-signed some guys like Javon Carter. Then they got Eastwan Moore and Langston Galloway, who, I mean, they're not great, but they're solid depth at the guard position. The only thing I would have done differently if I was them, I wanted them to take a guard in the draft, regardless of them getting Chris Paul. I wanted them to draft someone like Kira Lewis. But, I mean, they took Jalen Smith, and, I mean, he should get a lot of playing time because the front court isn't too crowded. But, yeah, I think they're moving definitely in the right direction, and I think they're going to put themselves in a good spot in the coming years.
I agree with most of everything you said, but they also lost Aaron Baines, so how can they ever recover?
Aaron Baines, the truth, man.
The greatest tone setter in the NBA. I almost should put the Raptors on here as winners because they won the Baines sweepstakes. Tampa Baines, as he's called now, because Toronto was playing in Tampa this season.
I'm not gonna lie. I hate the Chris Paul trade. I hated it. I did not like it at all. How old is Chris Paul? 35, 36? Old. And then you traded Oubre, you traded Ricky Rubio. The Suns would have made the playoffs. They should have made the playoffs. The only reason is DeAndre Ayton didn't he have that 25-game suspension at the beginning of the year, last year? And so he didn't even play for 25 games. Kelly Oubre was injured. And the Suns almost went to win now mode by trading Ricky Rubio, Kelly Oubre, whatever, and would say, okay, we're going to have Chris Paul, and we need to win now. That was stupid. It was stupid. I did not like it. I think Chris Paul is old. Everyone thought Chris Paul was washed when he came after he played with Houston, but it really was just James Harden. But I just don't like that. I don't like the trade. I feel like the Suns would have been fine on their own if they just gave themselves time, but they got power hungry, almost making the 8th seed, and it was like, okay, it's time to win now, and they'll still just be probably the 8th seed in the West. I don't like it. No, I wouldn't have traded for Chris Paul. That's just me.
I don't think that the trade, I guess, signifies that they're in win now mode. Just because they didn't give up picks, and
But you're paying $41 million though, and you're giving up Oubre. You gave up Oubre, and
yeah, but that's so Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson, who two new guys who they had just taken in the past couple of years, can get more playing time. And Mikal Bridges is a good. I really like Bridges as a 3, and Cameron Johnson's a good shooter. Oubre's okay.
They can't come.
But
they can't come off the bench. You're just giving up depth though. So
yeah, and then they signed some depth here.
I don't know. I didn't like it. That's just me. I may be wrong. We'll find out.
Find out. Karl, who you got?
I'll take this. Will kind of have an asterisk on it, but I'm taking the Nets. I think re-signing Joe Harris was actually a really underrated move that'll pay dividends for them this season. And I think really the biggest thing that they did was actually kind of doing nothing, because I think, a lot of GMs feel this temptation to need to shake it up and just trade people or sign people that they don't need. And I think they have what they need. They didn't get rid of any of their bench, which people are saying you should just trade your entire bench to get James Harden, which some people might agree with. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they're good where they are. So I think their inactivity almost makes them winners, because I think they're fine where they are. And they need to, before you can really do anything in free agency to know whether you'll improve or get worse or whatever, you have to see where your team is at now. And they haven't had a full season of Kyrie and Kevin Durant. So, any move they make now, they don't know, is that going to make us better? Is it going to make us worse? What's going to happen? So I think it was smart of them to kind of just stay where they are, keep the guys that they need, and move forward this season.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that, Karl. That's a pretty good one that I didn't think about. I could see where people obviously want them to trade for Harden or Beal, which I think Beal would be a pretty cool fit. As much as I don't care much for the super ultra mega super teams. But the big trend in the NBA right now, which the Lakers kind of broke that trend a little bit, is to have basically two main guys and pretty good guys surrounding those two main guys. The two main guys that are with the Nets is one is arguably the best player in the NBA when healthy, and the other one's a top 5 point guard, regardless of what you think about him. Just from a pure point guard, from a pure basketball standpoint, and Kyrie. So they could do worse. And then you have Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert coming off your bench or just as in your supporting unit. Yeah, that's pretty great. And Joe Harris, sharpshooter. Trey.
Yeah, I'll say.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say this is a weird year where both the draft class was bad and the free agency class was also relatively bad. So I think a lot of the teams that decided to just kind of chill and wait till next year are the ones that will be happier in the long run than teams that commit a ton of money to guys who they shouldn't be committing money to right now. And then next year they won't be able to pay anybody. So,
Trey, you got a pick?
I'm kind of hesitant to take this team because we got a crazy Blazers fan.
I'm glad you took it because
I had them written down too.
I was going to mention it.
I don't even want to talk about him.
Slack today.
I really don't want to talk about him just because of that. But I do like what Portland did. Somehow they traded Hazonia for Canner, and I know Canner's not a world beater, but that's a big upgrade to me. Rodney Hood basically didn't play all last year. They brought him back. Robert Covington, I think, somehow is really underrated. This is a team that plays no defense, and he can do a lot of things. So kind of like what Portland did. Also, I really, really wanted the Celtics to take a flyer on Harry Giles. I just think it's going to take him a while to come back from his injuries, and there might be something there. So I like that gamble too.
2K casuals don't like Robert Covington because he's terrible in 2K. but he's pretty good. IRL.
Shout out King of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you know. Carl knows. Carl knows what's up. Gosh, dude, my voice keeps cracking. Alex, go. I gotta take a sip of water.
Yeah, I'm glad. I was going to mention the Blazers, but then after my conversation with Dakota, I was going to move off from it. So I'm glad Trey said it because they do deserve some recognition. But and I'm not sure how you guys are going to feel about it, but I thought the 76ers offseason was good. I thought it was a good offseason for them for a number of reasons. Number one, they moved off of Al Horford. Trey was right in that aspect where that lineup was goofy and was never going to work. And I am willing to admit that I was wrong because I said I was big on the 76ers last year. And so I could say that I was wrong, eat my humble pie and say I was wrong. I think their roster right now fits them a lot better. I liked, even though Danny Green gets a lot of hate, if he's consistent, he can be good. If he's consistent, he can be good, but that's asking a lot. I think getting Seth Curry, a formidable shooter, and shoots light out. He shot lights out for the Mavericks last year. I thought that was a great pickup.
Doc's
Dwight
son-in-law?
Howard. Yeah, in the son-in-law, we're keeping it in the family, you know what I mean? And then I thought getting Dwight Howard as a backup center was a lot better than getting Al Horford because Dwight Howard will come off the bench, and he knows that's his role. I felt like the 76ers offseason was pretty decent for me. So.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Okay, so those were winners. Let's move to losers. And again, I'll just go ahead and start just because I said they were going to be my punching bag here, and I got a lot to say about them. It's the
Do me
Detroit-
last quick.
All right. That's what she said. Sorry, I'm 12. Where was I? Right. Yeah, losers. I've got the Detroit Pistons. Just because they seem to be acquiring every big that's in the league just so that way other teams can't have bigs. And it would seem like a good idea, when they trade for Tony Bradley and then they trade Tony Bradley for Zaire Smith. But then they cut Zaire Smith the second that he's officially a Piston. It makes no sense to me. What are they doing? And they gather up all these picks, throw huge contracts for Plumlee, for Grant, and they go out and draft Stewart, and then but you still have Blake Griffin on the books. I'm just confused. And then they trade away Luke Kennard. I don't know why. I hadn't given up on him. I got a funny story with Luke Kennard when I went to a Grizz game. Other people may not find it funny, but it's a Memphis thing that people find funny. But I'm just confused about what Detroit is doing right now. I, honest to God, am confused. Anytime Woj tweeted so-and-so was signing with Detroit, I just was left scratching my head and thinking, why?
I would like to speak first because first I need to get this quote out of the way. First of all, and I have a whole ass article about it, about everything the Pistons needed to do to be successful, okay? One was to trade Blake Griffin. Well, technically at the time it was trade Andre Drummond. They traded Andre Drummond. Thought it was a good idea, right? Just move off of it, just go. Trade Blake Griffin. Trade his ass too, okay? Keep Luke Kennard, because I was a big Luke Kennard. I haven't given up on him. I was big on Luke Kennard. All they had to do this offseason was sign 1-year deals, so they had no fucking money on the books and I've already said this next free agency, I think Karl alluded to it too. Next free agency is going to be really good. All you had to do was save your money, get a whole bunch of 1-year deals, get trash-ass people for all I care, right? Give people big paydays but 1 year and just say, okay, we're going to tank again this year, right? Tank again, get a good draft pick, and all you had to do was do that. Now, it's been misquoted that I said that people were going to sign max free agents here, okay? None of these guys were max free agents, okay? None of these guys. And I'm willing to say that I don't know what the fucking Pistons are doing either, okay? But I'm not the GM of the Pistons. I would have done this differently. You have to know if you have it this year or not this year, and you don't have it this year. That you just don't. Next year you might have a better chance because you can get a lot of free agents and you have the most money, so you can compete with anybody.
They signed so many bad players to big long-term deals.
Yeah, and that's why they're out for it. now I just want to put this Pistons thing past us. I know what I said. You guys are trying to misquote me, Trey mostly. And so, like, now I just want to get that out of the way. I just want to speak first. Yes, the Pistons are stupid. I'm with you, Jackson. Long year deals for people that don't really deserve it. But, yes. Okay, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Jeremy, we'll go, or no, yeah, we'll go with Jeremy. Jeremy, you go ahead.
So this one's probably not one that's on everyone's minds, but I'm gonna go with the Indiana Pacers, just because
I'm with you on that.
they didn't do anything to change their identity. They're a mediocre team in the East at best. They didn't acquire any assets to get better. I mean, it was unlikely, but they could have traded for someone like Blake Griffin, who Alex just talked about, or even Bradley Beal. I mean, and they couldn't even pull Gordon Hayward. And then they don't move on from Oladipo or Miles Turner. So if you're not going to acquire anyone, then why would you just hold on to your same mediocre team? I mean, they didn't. I mean, what did they do? I think they moved TJ Leaf. That was about it. They just didn't do anything to distance themselves from any team in the East. They're going to be stuck as probably a 6 or 7 seed. There's a chance they don't even make the playoffs if Oladipo gets hurt, or maybe Domantas Sabonis gets hurt. They might not even make the playoffs at all, and then they're just stuck. They don't have any draft picks. They don't have many assets, and they don't have much youth. So they didn't do anything to improve themselves.
All right, Alex, who do you got? Big loser.
Big loser. I'm gonna keep reiterating that what I've been saying is the Timberwolves. I never liked Anthony Edwards, and as more and more came out, it just kind of proves that it's more likely that he's going to be a bust than he is going to reach his ceiling. First of all, the guy said he doesn't even like basketball all that much. He's just good at it, and he's already doesn't have a winning mentality that screams winning mentality to me. I've already said Karl Anthony Towns is a loser, just for the fact that he doesn't really play to win. He plays for stats. There's a difference in NBA players, the people that want to win, like Jimmy Butler. That's why I like Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's he don't give a fuck who you are. He's gonna say some shit to you, and that's why it didn't work out with him in the Wolves. So I just don't like Anthony Edwards. I don't feel like they really did anything to. I like D'Lo too. I like D'Angelo Russell. I just don't feel like the Timberwolves really did anything to say, oh yeah, we're gonna actually make some noise. We're actually gonna make the playoffs. Is anyone gonna give them a playoff berth in the West right now? No one's going to. Anthony Edwards doesn't change that. He's a bust. I don't like it.
Apologies to people if you hear a train in the background. I live I hadn't played baseball in 10 years. And so without warming up, I could easily make it to the tracks from my house. That's how close I live. So is living in rural Arkansas. But Karl, go ahead. Your biggest loser of the draft, or not the draft,
Okay.
but the free agency.
Before I get to, I have two sort of not big losers, more like moderate semi-losers, but I'm just going to riff on the Pistons real quick. They have this weird obsession with power forwards in the same way that Sam Presti is obsessed with first-round picks. It's like every power forward this guy, the Pistons see, is the next big thing.
It's a competition between them and the Knicks, who can acquire
it's
more
so
power
weird.
forwards.
It's like they're playing Monopoly, but they're they're getting all the utilities and railroads that nobody wants, and expecting that people are gonna want them.
I love the railroads.
It doesn't really make any sense to me. It's they just want some attention. Hey guys, we have all the power forwards. Somebody trade with us. But yeah, I just had to get that off my chest because I just don't understand unless they're rolling out a lineup with 5 guys who are all over 6'10", which I guess if you want the Monstars or whatever, I don't know. Yeah, but my two sort of semi-losers, I'm gonna actually go with the Bucks. I think the Drew Holiday trade was a major misstep, and if I'm Giannis, that they did it trying to convince Giannis that he should stay. If anything, if I'm Giannis, that convinces me that I need to get out of there, because we just sacrificed basically our entire future and a bunch of depth for Drew Holiday, who's getting old and is probably starting to decline. And I don't see that they really improved a whole lot. They just kind of swapped out some middle tier depth guys for some other middle tier depth guys. So like I don't really see how they got any better. And then my other sort of semi loser is the Pelicans because so they picked up Steven Adams, which I think was actually a good move for them. He's really good in the pick and roll, and I think he'll actually be pretty good in New Orleans. But they also just extended. I saw this like earlier today. They extended Brandon Ingram for $185 million, which, I mean, he's good, but like, is that really the hill you want to die on? Is giving Brandon Ingram like $185 million over 5 years? I don't think so, especially when you're like going to be struggling to make the playoffs. So yeah, those were sort of my two semi losers where I feel like they had an opportunity to get better and they just didn't, or they made like lateral moves that didn't really help them at all.
I like the Brandon Ingram signing. I mean, the way I see it is okay. The Heat signed Bam for like 165 million, right? Like a huge ass contract, right? I would give Brandon Ingram more than Bam. Does that make sense? Like I like Brandon Ingram's great. I think he has a little bit more upside. I think he's a hooper. So I think I would have. It's just kind of locking up young talent, I guess. I mean, I know that's a lot to go off based on one season, but I mean, I don't know. I didn't mind it. I actually didn't mind the Pelicans. I actually wouldn't have extended Steven Adams, personally. I did think the trade was good for them. They traded Drew Holiday, and they got 3 firsts out of it. So, you know what? They got Eric Bledsoe. I think something happened to George Hill. I don't know what happened to him. So, I don't think it was, like, the worst, but I don't know. Yeah, it was the Bucks definitely just fucked up, though. They fucked. They're fucked. They'll have a good record, and then they'll just get a second round exit again. So, you know.
All right, Trey, we're doing you last year.
Yeah, my pick was Milwaukee. I think the Drew Holiday trade is a giant, absolute mistake. In fact, I would take it a step further. I think they may have gotten worse because if you do the aggregate score of George Hill and Eric Bledsoe, Drew Holiday, DJ Augustine, I don't see an upgrade because I think George Hill is a lot better than DJ Augustine. So to give that up for 5 first-round picks or whatever it was, and 2 pick swaps is just insane to me. And then to me, the biggest move was Bogdanovich. I thought that was the guy that was okay. Now I'm getting a little scared. That guy worries me. To just miss on that, that's a nightmare. If I'm Giannis, I don't like that trade. Makes me want to leave, not stay. So I think Milwaukee had by far the worst offseason.
And he didn't sign a supermax, and he's probably not going to. And that just points to you right there.
He needs to wait on the supermax. He needs to wait 1 year, and see how they do this year. Which I doubt they do any better this year than what they did last year. Regular season wise, they still may be the number 1 seed, but they'll get bounced second round, and then maybe give them a bit of free agency to see what they do. They don't have any draft capital, so there's no way that they can draft someone to convince convince Giannis that they'll fill in a hole. But I think Giannis is probably gone, and it's not going to be because of his fault, because he said that he wanted to stay, but the organization just got so desperate that they threw 3 first-round picks that will no longer be theirs and the right to pick swap on 2 picks to New Orleans. So that's just crazy. But I was wondering if anyone was going to pick up.
The craziest thing to me is, and we brought this up on That's Some Cheese, which will be coming out soon, but the idea that Drew Holiday is now a lock to stay in Milwaukee is crazy to me. Like, he's from Los Angeles, played at UCLA. What if he doesn't like the Bucks? Like, we're just guaranteed, we're going to keep Drew Holiday after giving up 5 first-round picks for him? That seems like a crazy risk to me, that if you're going to trade for him, at least have an extension done or something, because the idea that he's a lock to stay is crazy.
Giannis is going to the Spurs next year. That's all I want to put.
Yeah. No, he's going to the Pistons with all the other next guy.
I hate that. I explained my whole rant, and you just disregarded that. I hate that now. You know what? This might be the last call I'm on with you, Karl. I'm just kidding.
that was
Explain
great,
the
Cole.
misquote. I explained the misquote, and Carl's like, "Nah, fuck it, it's
That
alright.
was great,
It's okay."
I mean, we've said it 100 times. Week free agency class, week draft. Anybody got any closing thoughts? Any sort? Any other something they liked, something they didn't like, something you want to get off your chest, something you want to rant about, confessions of any sort?
Fuck the Lakers.
Says the man wearing a Lakers jersey, which is a Kobe
It's Kobe.
jersey.
That's
I know
it.
it's
That's
Kobe.
It's Kobe.
Kobe gets a pass. Kobe gets a
Kobe
pass.
gets a pass.
You're
There
right.
we go.
I'll share my Luke Kennard story just real quickly. So another knock on the Pistons here. They suck so bad that their tickets are usually the cheapest to get for Grizzlies games. So that means my wife and I can get closer to the court, which is always great when the Pistons come to town because they come to town usually once a year. But it also sucks because I have to watch the Pistons play live. But Luke Kennard is like the whitest dude out there, and he's shooting free throws the last time we went to go see them, before Rona happened and everything. And as he's shooting the free throw, you just hear some dude behind us yell, "I bet you listen to Dave Matthews Band," and he just completely bricks the free throw. And like I said, the Dave Matthews Band, there's a couple levels to that. One, it's because he's the whitest dude out there on the court, and secondly, people from Memphis don't like Dave Matthews Band. So there's multiple levels to that joke, especially if you're a Memphis person.
The people at Memphis will enjoy that one. They will.
Yeah, if any of them. And shout out to the Grizzlies for having the best unis in the league. They just dropped their new city unis on Twitter before we started, and man,
let's not get crazy.
those things
Let's
are
not
hot.
get crazy. They are. Well, let's not say they're the best. I mean,
No, I'm just saying
Yeah,
that the entire ensemble is sexy.
Oh.
The Vancouver throwbacks, Memphis throwbacks from when they first moved. Now these unis, the
You better make sure you don't have a box of tissues next to you.
the MLK unis that they had, man, those were awesome.
got the
Even though they were
got the-
t-shirt jerseys and they always didn't like it. But all right, I think that's gonna do it for us for this.
Wait.
Oh,
Sorry. Yeah, Dakota, bro, what are you talking about sometimes, bro? Like, you're okay, but I can't talk about the Blazers with you no more. I can't. Like, I was reading it. I was trying to give you the benefit, but man, like, Damian Lillard he's not a good defensive guard. He hasn't been working on it. He's a liability on defense. I know you love your Blazers, but man, we gotta start coming to a compromise here, okay? I mean, I think I'm pretty unbiased when it comes to NBA sometimes, but man, like, all right. That's all I just want to say. Dakota, let's talk about other NBA teams. I can't talk about the Blazers with you no more. I don't feel like I'm gonna win with you on that one. I think we're just gonna have to come to a compromise. I just wanted to say that. Hopefully,
Dakota opened up a whole new world to me because I didn't know there was any such thing as like a diehard Blazers fan. Like I didn't know the Blazers were a team that people felt that strongly about, and now I feel like I understand a little bit better. But
they
thank you,
legalize
Dakota.
drugs in Oregon, okay? So you know what? Just be careful out there. Dakota.
Yeah,
Just be
they're all on
careful.
crack out there now.
Just, tell me Damian Lillard is good on defense. That was it for me. I was like, man, he needs to be drug tested. Get him in rehab. No, I'm just kidding. But man.
All right. Well, on
Dakota.
that note, that slide to Dakota. Maybe we'll get Alex and Dakota on something sometime and just let them rant after we let Trey and Alex hash it out. Alex has a bone to pick with a lot of people. Maybe that should be a new series that we start. Alex just goes one-on-one with everyone on the side and just
One-on-one fight.
yeah, paid one-on-one.
Chad wants to do the Patreon tier of $75. You can box him. So
No, I ain't got a box of cat.
Speaking of
I got it now.
support us on Patreon. Go and follow us on Twitter at what is it, Trey? Is it media_vendetta? Is that our Twitter handle?
yeah.
I'm trying to remember this stuff off rip, and I'm not that great at remembering that kind of stuff off rip. But yeah, go follow us on Twitter. We have an Instagram and a Facebook as well. Watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, helps us out a lot. Go check out everything else that we got going on the channel. Hit the notification bell so that way you can be notified whenever any new content rolls out. You'll be one of the first to know. Again, thank you to our sponsors for partnering with us so that way we can keep bringing you these amazing videos. But with that said, this is Jackson Law with Karl, Trey, Jeremy, and Alex from Vendetta Sports Media signing off, and we will see you guys next time.